Hi, and welcome to Have You Made It, the podcast where I talk to Northern creatives about what they make and how they make it. Today's episode is with the photographer Abbie Jennings. Abbie is from Hull, and she is like the perfect example of somebody who is making a living out of things that she is super interested in. Really, the way that the scope of her work has changed over time. Also, the way that she entered the world of photography is so interesting to learn about. The fact that she really wanted to be an art gallery curator, for example. It's such a great conversation with someone who is really passionate about all things creative, to be honest. And yeah, it was just really lovely to talk to her. So I won't waste much more time. Here is Abbie Jennings. Today's guest is a freelance arts and culture photographer based in Hull. She is also a creative producer and curator. You can find her travelling around the country, photographing anything from music festivals to arts workshops and museum content. Welcome, Abbie.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Very good. How are you?
Yes, I'm good, thank you. Thanks so much for coming on.
That's it.
We've just had a little catch up before we started recording because we actually went to school together and we haven't seen each other for years. So
Yeah, we knew each other since we were like four, and then it's been a long time since we've chatted.
I was actually thinking, I'm sure my mum has a really cute picture of us when we were 5 years old or something at a birthday party.
There's definitely a picture which I think we'll probably get onto later, but on a Polaroid picture, and I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure I still have it somewhere.
oh, that's
I need
so
to
cute.
find it.
I think I remember what photo you're on about.
I need to find it. I'm pretty sure it's in like a memory box that I have because I keep loads of stuff like that. I
Yeah.
never throw anything like that away.
You still use Polaroid cameras now, don't you?
I do, yeah. I love a Polaroid. It's I usually just do it for like fun, not for work, but I would love to kind of incorporate that into my work at some point.
Yeah.
If it
Yeah,
could.
that would be so good. Have you always kept up with the Polaroid camera?
So I never had one as a kid, which I wish I did, but I didn't. When they kind of reissued them, that's when I got one. And then I've had a few since then. It's just
Yeah.
a novelty. I like a novelty camera.
Yeah. I do love a Polaroid camera, but I have a really old one. But whenever I get the film, it just never ever comes out properly. I don't think I store it correctly or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you meant to put it in the fridge and stuff, but I don't do that, which I think is probably bad advice from a photographer, but there we go.
I definitely don't do that. Yeah, it's so nice to chat to you. So we were just saying that obviously you're in Hull at the minute, but you haven't always been in Hull. So I'd love to know more about journey from school times because now you're a full-time photographer.
Yeah, so I guess we can start in like sixth form. So I did my A levels, I did photography, art and textiles, very creative A levels. It was quite difficult because all of the coursework was all in at the same time. So I spent my life in the art department basically. And then I took a year out because I didn't know what I wanted to do. So truthfully, I worked in Asda for a year trying to make money to figure out what I wanted to do. And then I knew I wanted to go to uni, but I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. I did photography because it felt like the right option. I didn't always want to be a photographer. But then obviously I did a degree in photography. I went to Salford Uni near Manchester. So
Yeah.
I was there for 3 years doing my undergrad. And then I worked in a museum after that, which is when I was freelancing along the side of that job. And then I worked there for a couple of years and then decided to do a master's, which wasn't in photography, that was in art gallery and museum studies. Because when I was working in the museum and throughout my undergrad degree, I was really interested in the curating side of things and exhibitions and how photography, you don't actually have to be a photographer to work in photography kind of thing. But then during COVID, I didn't actually go back to that job. I just decided I wanted to try and freelance full time and see what I could make of it really. And then most of my work now is photography, so I am a full-time photographer alongside other things. Everybody knows me as a photographer, I would say, like my creative connections, etc. But there's other jobs in there. I guess you can't always just have one thing because as a self-employed freelancer, you have about 50 job roles anyway.
So if we go back to, there's a few things we can probably pull out of that we can talk about. But if we go back to you saying like you didn't know what you wanted to do and you went for photography because it felt like the right thing, why did that feel like the right thing? Did it just feel like the most practical thing, or?
Yeah, so I had gone to a few open days for unis, and I can't remember where it was. Maybe it was Leeds or Sheffield or somewhere. And I was looking at a fine art course, and it just didn't feel like the right fit for me. I wanted to be a bit more practical and learn a bit more like about the technicalities of it, and I guess business side of things as well. The degree that I picked was quite an art-based photography degree. So there's lots of different types of photography degrees in the country. So some are more business focused, some are more art-based, and kind of everything in between. Some of them include like videography and film as well. So yeah, I saw the course and I just kind of knew that that was the one for me, I think. I guess going back to like A levels as well, photography was the one I did best in, and I did have the opportunity to have a year out because I didn't actually apply for uni like straight from sixth form. It was like the route that we was guided to take, but I didn't do that. I knew I wanted to go eventually, but I didn't want to rush into it.
It's actually quite cool that you did that, because I always think we were just told there was no other option. Didn't even discuss another option with you. It was basically like, what uni are you applying to then? Was basically it,
Exactly.
like what subjects are you going to choose? Like there wasn't really, and unless you were kind of like pally with your teacher that you had at A level, there wasn't really any opportunities to discuss options. Like you just said that you learn, which is another thing we can chat about, is you learn during your undergrad that you don't have to be a photographer to be in the photography field, but we
Yeah.
would never have known that at sixth form.
No, exactly. I think, like, looking back, maybe uni wasn't the best route for me. Although I wouldn't change it now. I do think maybe an apprenticeship or something like that could have got me started a lot quicker than what I did. Realistically, I finished uni in 2017, and that's like 8 years ago. It's taken me pretty much that amount of time to get to where I am now. And I think if I'd have done something different, like an apprenticeship, or maybe gone to uni straight away and not faffed around for a few years deciding what I wanted to do. But yeah, I could have been in a different position, but also like I wouldn't change the route that I've had and everything, because uni allowed me to move away to Manchester, and I stayed there for a few years after uni as well. So I would never have had that opportunity to move to a big city, I think, if it wasn't for uni. But it would definitely be nice to have had the option of other opportunities rather than just university.
Yeah, definitely. And also, what are the other opportunities other than university at that point in your life when you're thinking, okay, I want to go into some form of art? You decide on photography, but ultimately, it sounds like it was the course that sounded right for you. So then that's why you ended up going down the photography route. So, what were the other opportunities? Like, there wasn't any really when you think about it.
No, there was nothing. And I think if I look back again, I think maybe going to the sixth form attached to our school was not the best idea for someone creative. But I don't know, maybe I could have done a foundation or an art foundation or something like that to help me figure out what it was that I wanted to do. But I got there eventually.
So you say about moving to Manchester. So it wasn't like a big dream of yours or anything to like move to Manchester, but did you always want to leave Hull? Or was you not that bothered really?
So initially, I wasn't really that bothered. But it was only when I started going to open days and things like that when I was like, oh, actually. And all of my friends had gone to uni the year before me. So I was visiting them in all of these cool cities. And I was like, oh, yeah, actually, I want to move. It was Leeds originally that I wanted to go to, the arts uni in Leeds, but I didn't get in. They didn't accept me. So I went to Salford. Yeah.
What's the process like of getting into the Leeds Art Uni?
I had to do like a presentation or show my portfolio. And at that point, I didn't have much of a portfolio. Like, of course, it wasn't very good. I was 18, like fresh out of sixth form. So yeah, you had to. I just remember them saying to me, the feedback that I got why I didn't get in was that it wasn't evident how passionate about it I was, which was a bit of a dagger, to be honest.
What? How can that be a reason? That's just like someone's opinion.
Exactly. And it's so subjective. Like, how can you possibly say that to a teenager? But yeah. The experience at Salford going through the interview process was so much nicer, and I just felt at ease there, and I felt welcomed and like they really understood me. Plus the lecturer who interviewed me was from Doncaster, so she kind of got it, I think.
So then you ended up staying in Manchester. So after uni, how long was your uni course, by the way? Was it 3 or 4 years?
It was 3 years,
Was it
yeah.
3? Yeah. And then you decided to stay in Manchester. So like, what was that like?
Yeah, so I knew I wanted to stay in Manchester after uni, and it was just about finding a job really, because otherwise there's no way I could have afforded it. I got a job at the National Football Museum and I worked there for 4 years, and it was the funnest job I've ever done. I absolutely loved it, but there was no kind of room for progression in the areas that I wanted to progress in. So that's when I did my master's, because I was hoping that it would help me progress a little bit. And it has done, but not, it's gone in a different direction, I would say.
Yeah. I've always wondered what it's like to work at a museum. Well, I love going to art galleries and I just like love the experience. I do always think like this must just be such a nice job, like working in a gallery or a museum in your case. Like what was it
Yeah.
like?
It was really fun. So I think the thing about the National Football Museum is it's probably a bit more of an untraditional museum, because there's like games you can play in there and it's a lot more interactive. It's quite like a family friendly museum. So I think that already made it fun. And I was working front of house, so I interacted with the visitors and took them on tours of the museum, and I just heard the stories of the people who were coming in to visit. Yeah, it was very fun. I loved it. If I could have progressed there, I think I would still be working there now. But yeah.
Oh, it's so annoying, isn't it? Because it sounds like it was such a nice job to have.
Yeah, it was great. I loved it.
So your idea was to do the your master's degree in hopes that you would be able to then like go back into some form of like museum curator kind of role. So what was the reasoning behind that? Like, was that some advice that you were given, or was that based on research that you'd done?
Yeah, so I wanted to progress in the museum field as a curator with a focus on photography, basically. A lot of people told me that you can't do that without the master's degree. I was kind of under the impression that if you wanted to work in them higher up roles, you had to have that master's. There was quite a prestigious master's course at Manchester Uni, which I managed to get onto. And yeah, I did the master's. I've got the piece of paper to say that I've done it. But
What was it like doing a master's?
I don't regret it, but if I could go back, I would maybe change the one that I did. I think it didn't help that it was COVID time when I did it. So halfway through, COVID happened, and all the kind of practical elements of that degree were stripped away and turned into essays. I'm not a hugely academic person as such. So I had gone into that master's knowing that there was quite a lot of practical elements.
Yeah.
And that was suddenly all kind of taken away and turned into essays. So it was very, very difficult and challenging. I think going back, knowing where I'm at now and knowing that I don't work in a museum traditionally, kind of in that sense, I probably wouldn't have done it. But I don't regret it. It's one of them things, sometimes you have to take a risk, and it was a bit of a risk, but you know.
I remember as soon as I finished uni, people were like, "Oh, yeah, would you consider doing a master's?" I was like, "No," because everyone always just told me it was just so hard, the amount of like time and energy that you have to put into it. And I was just kind of like, I've just done this. I've just already been doing that. And to be honest, that was enough for me for like at uni. And I fair
Yeah.
play to you for doing one.
It's probably important to say that I took 2 years out before I did the masters. So
Of course you did. Yes, you had like a bit of an academic break, and then you
yeah,
was
for sure.
back into it.
And also when I finished my undergrad, I didn't pick up a camera for like 6 months. I was that burnt out. I didn't want to be a photographer anymore. I was like,
Really?
which is, it's changed now, but at that moment in time, the uni course was so intense and like I absolutely loved it, but it takes a lot out of you. So
It really does. I was like, I did French at uni, and afterwards I was like, I don't want to speak another word of French again. But the first job I got was like a French speaking role, but I only had it for like 6 months, and then I went on
oh
to
my
another
God.
job. And then I hardly spoke it like since, because I was just like, it just, yeah, frazzles your brain on it. But yeah, I was going to say something that was actually on topic then, rather than talking about French degree. Oh no, you said you had a 6 months break before picking up a camera. So like, what made you want to pick up your camera again?
So when I did my degree, there used to be a photography network in Manchester called Red Eye, And basically, they went round all the photography degree courses in Greater Manchester and they had an award for somebody from each uni. I won the award, really kick-started me, I think. And they did a professional development program. So basically, they put me onto that. And then that is what pushed me further.
Right.
But I think it was about 6 months before that started. So there was a bit of a period of relaxing without a camera in my hand.
When you was in Manchester, so you had that little 6 months, you won this award, you was doing this.
It's like a professional development program. So essentially like workshops, talks, things like that.
What did it give you to be able to then start doing photography more?
I think there was about 20 people on this program and we were split into groups. And the aim of it was that we would make new work and get our work shown in a photography festival or an exhibition or something like that. So it was the motivation to actually make work again and push that out as a new collective. And then some of the people on that program, it finished in 2018 and I'm still friends with now. Like it really did build that connection, especially as a young graduate. There was a lot of people on that course program, whatever we call it, who were like 5 to 10 years older than me. So I learned a lot from people who had been actually working in the industry at that time.
That sounds really good. So then you were doing that for a couple of years, you were working at the museum, and then you decided to do your masters.
Yeah.
So when you was doing your masters, were you still able to do freelance photography?
So my masters was full-time. I was working at the museum part-time, and then I was freelancing on the side of that as a photographer as well.
Hang on, I'm just doing the maths there. How does that even work?
Well, it doesn't. I probably didn't sleep and it was very tiring and a lot of hard work. But at this point, it was like skyrocketing rent prices in Manchester. I needed to do all of that to survive, basically, because it's pretty pricey doing a master's. And yeah, I couldn't have afforded to have done it not working, for example, even though I did get like a bursary grant, which is another reason why I did it, really, because it was something like if you got a first in your undergrad degree, you could apply for, I don't think it was like a scholarship. It was a couple of grand, basically, that they gave you, which helped somewhat.
Yeah. So let's get into the Manchester at this time point, because I feel like this is a good point for us to start talking about the struggles of trying to live and make it in a big city. Because before this was kind of years ago, this probably was mainly like a London centric problem. Now it's not. Now it's also Manchester, for example, is the rent now is insane. Like it's gone up so much. Like even like house prices, like if people want to buy and like make a stay there to make a life there and stuff, it's really, really well, the whole country is, but this is my point. If you're a creative and you're trying to make it in a city, how do people actually make it work?
It's pretty impossible, I would say. I think eventually I got priced out of Manchester. I couldn't afford to live there anymore. And there could have been things I could have done. I could have lived in a house share. I could have, lived in a basement in a really run down house or something. But I didn't want to do that. At the time when I left, I was 27 and I didn't want to do that at that age. So I moved back to Hull. Yeah. Just every time I go back, because I'm there for work quite a lot, there's a new sky-rise building or a new block of flats. There's a lot of money being pumped into that city and it's brilliant, but I think a lot of people who are actually from there probably can't afford to live in the areas where they grew up or move to a bit of a nicer area in Manchester because it's too expensive. I always see TikTok videos of people moving from London to Manchester and they're like thinking it's really cheap. But then I'm watching it like £2,000 a month rent. What? Like how? How is that affordable? But compared to London, that probably is affordable.
Yeah. I think it's probably like an accumulation of all these different things now, because obviously when COVID happened, a lot of non-creative office style jobs, marketing jobs, all started to work from home. So people could get a London-based salary and job, but live in a different city. or like, or not even London based, just anywhere in the world based. You know, you could have a remote job and live somewhere. So that's why people, that's just one of probably the many reasons why people start to get priced out. Like you say, people who are in London are realizing that Manchester's like pretty sick and it's a really big city and there's loads of pretty much anything that happens in London now, about 6 months later, I see a very similar thing open up or a very similar thing occurring in Manchester now. But these people don't necessarily all have jobs in Manchester. And all this money that's getting pumped into Manchester, like how is it actually benefiting, like you said, the people who are from there or have dedicated so much of their life to it, like you did. You literally went to uni there, you decided to stay there, did your masters there, had like a really good job there, like working doing something you really wanted, and then eventually just get priced out anyway. So it's so frustrating.
Yeah, it is very frustrating. I think part of me knew I didn't want to live there forever. So I was kind of like, right, okay, now's the time. I can always move back there if I want to. But then I'm settled in Hull now and I don't think I want to move back there. Like, I go there for work quite a lot. That's enough for me.
So you do like it in Hull?
I actually love it in Hull,
Yeah.
I thought I would really struggle when I moved back because it's like starting again. I didn't really have the creative networks. It had been 7 years since I'd lived here, and I was a bit worried and it felt like a step back. But actually, there's so much going on in Hull, and there's room to like start things yourself and make things happen before anybody else kind of does that. So it's like starting afresh when you move back, but I don't no longer feel like I've taken a back step.
Yeah, don't feel like you're going back. It's just like the next thing that you're doing, which is so good. I agree there
Yeah.
about Hull. Like, there's just so much going on there now. Like the last few years that we've been back like this, where there's all you can go every weekend and there's like something different or a different place to go, or there's a lot. It's
Yeah,
definitely different from when we were growing up there, I
for sure.
think.
Yeah. And I think the City of Culture probably helped that a lot
Yeah.
with funding and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. But it still struggles, but I just think it's the same kind of struggles that every single northern city, probably other than Manchester. He did a lot of music photography in Manchester. So what was that like?
Yes, I used to purely market myself as a music photographer, and that's still what a lot of people know me as and
Hmm.
think of me as, I guess. It was on my doorstep, basically. Like, if I wanted to go and shoot a gig every single night, there's the opportunity to do that in Manchester. I was working for a couple of like publications and news outlets and things like that, where once your name kind of gets out there, then it's like yeah, everyone knows who you are and wants to work with you, I think. There's a lot of bands who are starting out there who need photographers, and that's kind of what I was doing for a couple of years. I'd be at gigs like 3 nights a week, which is not the same now. I don't do that anymore. I do music, but it's a very small fraction of what I do. And I think that's been a knock-on effect from moving back to Hull, where we don't get huge artists here, sadly. And I mean, bands and artists. There's a lot of music venues, but it's just not as much happening as a big city like Manchester.
Yeah, I feel like the thing is with Hull, it does have such a good music scene, but I always say this all the time about Hull, like it's only so big. There's only so many people who will go to the same kind of events and pay like for tickets to go to something. Whereas in
Yeah.
Manchester, like every night, like you say, you could go to a different venue or a different bar or a different pub, like for the smaller ones, and then there's all like the bigger venues. So it's definitely much easier. So is it music photography then? You said it's because it was on your doorstep, but you are also very interested in music. So was that kind of fun, like doing something that you generally would do in your spare time, like going to a gig or going to a festival?
Yeah, for sure. It was like the best job in the world. I've been going to gigs since I was like a child. So to kind of combine that passion with photography and somehow make it a job is crazy, really. I still work at festivals and I do the odd gig now, but it's nothing like it used to be. My work has kind of gone in a different direction now, but yeah, for that moment in time, the couple of years where I was really, really purely working in the music industry, it was brilliant. I loved it.
Did you ever think that, like, oh, I could do this like forever, or was there always something inside it that thought this isn't actually going to be a sustainable full time thing?
I think you can make it a full-time job, but it's very difficult. You'd have to be constantly touring with a band or artist, away from home all the time. You'd have to work like every single festival. And also, there's not a huge amount of money in the kind of grassroots type of music scene. So you would really have to be working for the higher level artists and bands and the record labels and the festivals and stuff. It's quite hard to sustain that. And I know a lot of photographers who do, and it's amazing, but there's not enough of the jobs for everyone, I would say. People always say it's a very oversaturated type of photography, which it is. And also, it's kind of about who you know. Like, once you're in with one set of people, like the circles, your name will get passed about to everyone, and it's quite difficult to break it and like make it happen and turn it into a full-time job. I think if I would have really, really tried, I could have done, but I didn't actually really want to be touring around.
I was going to say that because I bet being a full-time photographer in that sense, like where you're attached to an artist or a band and you're going on their tours and following them around, like it's probably not all it's cracked up to be. Like being away
Yeah,
from home, like there's obviously a lot of downsides where maybe the money's stable, but is your lifestyle stable? Probably not. So there's
exactly.
definitely
There's
downsides to that.
pros and cons for sure. And I think as I get older, I'm less interested in being away for days on end, weeks on end, and stuff like that. I think I'm much more kind of settled now, and it's not that I'm not interested in it, but I also thought like if I did go on a tour, I would want it to be like a pop star, like
Yeah.
like an all women team. Like, just don't really fancy going on tour with like a male band and being surrounded by men. I just don't really want to do that.
Is it quite a male-centric industry in photography and music photography?
It's quite male dominated, yeah, I would say. I think things have got a lot better, but certainly I used to go and photograph gigs and everyone in the photo pit, a lot of them would be men. It's quite hard to say, really, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
got better, I think. But I'm not like in it as much as I used to be, so
Yeah.
it's quite hard to say.
So you say the type of photography you do now has changed. So what kind of angle have you gone down now? Like, and what's been your process in getting there?
I kind of market myself more as an arts and culture photographer now, which means I'm not putting myself in one industry or one kind of pile. I still work in the music industry. I do shoot a lot of festivals. I'm not eliminating the fact that I can still shoot music, but I also photograph in museums. I photograph for like arts festivals, anything within arts and culture, really. So putting it under that umbrella kind of opens it up a little bit more so that people don't just think of me as a music photographer. I'm still in the process of actually trying to figure out how to market myself and how to, make my Instagram look a little bit less music heavy and stuff.
I think you market yourself well, and it fits to your like degree and your masters as well. Actually, when you think about it, it actually really does fit with what you've studied.
Yeah, I think everything is tied in eventually, and it's been a process to get to that point, but actually now, yeah, as a photographer, I do get to work in all of these different industries, I guess, and it's great. I get to see different things every single day. Yeah.
Do you get to travel still? Because I know you said you're not keen on traveling a lot, but do you still get to do that?
Yeah, so I don't actually get a huge amount of work in Hull, which I think I'm still working on that. Once you're kind of in, I think you're in. But I had been away for so long that I'm still like making the moves, trying to network with people. And a lot of my work and clients that I left in Manchester are still over there. So yeah, I'm on the M62 like at least once a week, spend my life in my car, just driving around all sorts of places. I had written a list of all the places where I'd been this year alone, and there's like 20 different locations.
Really?
Yeah. So I was in London like last week, Manchester. I keep going to a place called Heckmondwike in West Yorkshire.
What are you
It
doing
was
there?
for one of my clients who I work for has like a campaign there. So I'd never heard of this place, and then in the past 2 months I've been 3 times.
So it takes you everywhere.
I end up in lots of places that I've never been to before, but then equally it allows me to go to big cities as well. So yeah, I do a lot of traveling, and as much as I love it, I really want to try and get more work a bit more locally. And I think that'll take time, and eventually I'm sure it'll happen.
Yeah, definitely. Like we said, I do think Hull is becoming more. There's a lot more going on. There are some really like iconic things that happen in Hull, like this Humber Street session. There's things that happen like every year in Hull and have done for years. But I feel like in more recent times, there's like, I don't know, more stuff going on, and there's always gigs happening in Adelphi, for example. But I feel like there just seems to be more happening, which is quite good. So you would hope. And you're in the process of wanting to start like a Humber region photography like community, I guess, which could help.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm applying to the Arts Council for a project grant, and I'm hoping it gets funded. It's like fingers crossed. The bid's going in a couple of weeks. So
What's that like arts funding? I had no idea that that was actually something that people could do. I just thought it was mainly for establishments or things that kind of already existed, but maybe wanted funding to put on an exhibition or something like that. Like, I didn't realize that like individuals could do it. So it could be quite cool to talk about that.
yeah, so I think there's a lot of different funding pots, and some of them are for organizations or,
Hmm.
more like a group rather than individuals. But there are also a lot which are for individuals, and it's very competitive and difficult, and there's nothing to say you will be successful. They're very difficult to get, but when you get them, it's pretty game changing, I would say.
So you've applied for funding before?
When I first moved back to Hull, I was very aware of the Developing Your Creative Practice Arts Council Fund, but I wasn't quite sure how to go about it. Basically, spoke to some people who I knew who had got it and really decided I wanted to get it as well. So I think I really recommend it to anybody. It's for individuals, so you don't have to do a project as such. It's more to develop your practice, literally
Hmm.
as it says. It's shortened to DYCP. So I was very lucky to get that. I applied for it. It was the first time I had applied, and I got the email like, you've been successful. And I have applied for so many funding pots and awards and competitions and things like that, and never really got anything as big as this. So it felt like a real kind of pivotal moment to receive that. And what I applied for was to rebuild my networks in Hull
Mm.
and also expand my practice as a photography curator. So it really opened my eyes to a lot of things in the industry, and I had time to research and develop, and it was game changing, really.
I bet. So essentially, they give you money to basically pay for things that you need to pay for, or potentially so that you can actually live and have the time to do these things. Because as a creative person, like so many people have to have another job while they're trying to develop the practice. This funding sounds like a no-brainer, really, to try and apply for it.
For sure, yeah. It allowed me to take the time out from client work to focus on my personal practice and like how I wanted
Yeah.
to develop and the things I wanted to do going forwards. Because I think as a photographer, I've kind of slipped a little bit into commercial work because that's what pays the money. And I don't have much of like my own art practice or time or space or money to develop that and make it happen.
Yeah.
Whereas when you get a fund like DYCP, it actually just gives you that space to take time out from your job to pay yourself to research, basically. I went on trips to other galleries. I had a lot of meetings. I had a mentor. I went to see the Unseen Festival in Amsterdam, which is something I always wanted to do, but realistically, like, it's not that I couldn't afford it. It's more just the time and like,
Yeah, taking the time off to go to a
yeah,
festival in another
definitely.
country. Yeah.
So yeah, it's very competitive, but I think in a way I was in Hull, like I was a bit more, the chances were a bit more, I think, because we're not a priority place, but we're something like that. The Arts Council have like these places and locations where they've been like, okay, there's not enough funding going to Grimsby, there's not
Right.
enough funding going to Scunthorpe, for example. So if you're in them locations, you've got more of a chance. I believe you still have to put in a good application, and they still have to like
Yeah.
what you want to want. Yeah, I really recommend it to anybody, but there's still a lot of people who don't know about it and don't know how to access this type of funding.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, like I said, I'd never even heard of it. And it's not just photography, it's literally any kind of creative practice. Like I saw that someone had done it to like write a book, for example. So this is any kind of creative endeavor that you want to achieve, you could apply for it.
Yeah, for sure. It's just any creative role, I would say, any art
Yeah.
form. I think there are a few that they don't fund, but everything's on the website, basically all the information. Yeah, I think one thing that did really help me, there's an art, I'm not sure if it's like, well, let's just say a website called The White Pew.
I think I follow them on Instagram.
It's so good. The resources are amazing. They have like a directory of people who have put in their successful funding bids, and you can actually view them on their website. So you can see how people have done their budget or how people have written a specific answer to a question. So that really helped me actually. It was a really good resource to see applications. You've got to find what works for you, and sometimes it's not all gonna work. And it's a journey, isn't it? You can't expect to be successful in everything that you do. And yeah, I think it's just a process. But the DYCP definitely was like the best thing I've done in recent years, for sure.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. How long were you able to like develop your practice for that time? So
12 months. You can apply for up to £12,000. So it's obviously a hell of a lot of money.
oh,
And I think if you've got like access needs as well, you can apply for more, I believe. So it was for a year, and I would dedicate maybe like 1 day a week to it. So it wasn't every day, obviously. I was still maintaining my photography alongside it. But yeah, it just allowed me to take a little bit of a step back from client work and really figure out my direction.
other than that, the applying for funding, what other kind of like raw advice would you give someone who wants to, I guess, make it? No, someone's coming to the front door. Shit. Sorry. 1 second. Let me pause. Let me pause, Abbie. First time that's happened.
That's so funny.
Don't come to my door, please. I'm recording.
I hate it when people knock on the door, like, leave me alone.
That's the thing when you work from home like full time.
Yeah, unless it's a parcel. I'm like, okay,
Oh yeah, then that's exciting. Wait, we're still recording now, yeah. Yeah, cool. So we're talking about, let's have a look at my notes. Yeah, I guess raw advice for someone. So obviously we talked about funding. What else is there that you would say to someone to do if they were at the beginning of their career, and if they're living in the north as well, or northern, trying to make it?
Yeah, so I think kind of from my perspective, I've got to a point where I've realised I can't do everything. You can't do like all of the things all of the time. As much as you want to, sometimes it is okay to say no to things. And you learn from that for sure. But yeah, you can't do it all at once. So I think saying no is fine. People often say yes to every opportunity, but really sometimes that can land you in some situations that you don't really want to be in, or it sends you in a different direction, and you have to really come back from that and be like, oh, what is it that I actually want to do? It's part of the journey, I think. Also now there's a lot of jobs that people send me an inquiry and it doesn't quite align with my practice or what I want to do. So I have a list of people essentially who I can count on to kind of recommend, and I will send jobs their way. And equally, I have people who do the same for me. And it's like collaboration over competition. I think it's
that's so good. Yeah.
It's very valuable. And as someone who is self-employed, like it goes a long way, really. As much as you want to say yes to every single job, if something isn't the usual type of thing you do, or you think someone's better suited for it, yeah.
It makes sense though, because at the end of the day, it's like photography. Like it's not like any other job where you can kind of take a job and not have to like show something physical or digital in that sense for it, if they don't match up to your like vision for what you want to do or the types of work that you want to do. Like you could have been spending that time doing something else that's more worthwhile and like shapes your like the world of Abbie Jennings photography, for example. Like if you're out there doing something really random that doesn't suit what you do, then what if someone else asks you to do the same thing, and then it snowballs and you end up down this whole other line of work that you have absolutely no interest in. So that's really good advice, I think. So I'm sure some people do just say yeah, I'm a photographer and I'll do anything, but ultimately, where's that going to get you?
Yeah. I mean, that's not to say that I don't end up doing lots of random jobs, because I do. I end up in lots of random places, but it's all fun and it's all part of the process. And once
Yeah.
you've done it once, you can be like, you know what, I don't like that. I don't want to take a job like that anymore. Or I will accept a job that's like a 3 hour drive away. And I'm thinking, what am I doing? Why am I spending my whole day traveling when it's like a 2 hour job, for example? But yeah, it's just weighing up what works for you and what doesn't. And yeah, if it's
Yeah.
particularly quiet, then I will find myself taking on jobs that I don't post on Instagram and I don't let the rest of the world know that I'm doing them jobs. But sometimes it has got to be done. I guess
Yeah.
that's my equivalent of having a part-time job. Maybe that doesn't
Yeah.
relate to my kind of work.
Yeah. Let's talk about social media a little bit. Like you just mentioned about Instagram. So what's that process been like with trying to get the right balance of what you post on social versus what's on your website and where you get your work as well?
Yeah, I think social media is a weird one. I think you can't do all of them really well, is kind of what I've always been told and what I've figured out. So obviously, like, you put all your energy into maybe Instagram, but then you could ignore Facebook, but that could actually be really
Yeah.
valuable for a certain type of demographic, for example. I think over time, I just realized that Instagram wasn't really getting me anywhere.
Mm.
People think it's mad, like you're a photographer and you don't post on Instagram, but I do post, just
Yeah,
not
you
very
do. Yeah.
often, which I think is something that maybe I do need to work on. It's always a bit of a New Year's resolution for me to be better at Instagram. I've realized that a lot of my work comes in through my website. So having a website that can showcase everything that I do in one place, and it's really easy to update, and I don't need to worry about how many likes I've got on a picture.
Mm.
It's just my place, and like, it doesn't matter if one person views it every day. If that one person is going to book me for a job, then it's worked. So I think I invested quite a lot of time into making my website look nice and
Hmm.
having the SEO so that people actually search me and can find me on Google rather than getting lost in the searches. I think that's really helped. And yeah, I do like making TikTok videos, but they're not very serious. But like, I'm hoping one day I'll just go viral and then I can have another income stream of TikTok.
That's the dream, Abby.
It's the dream.
What are some like northern influences, or like what were your influences like to get into art? Like, are you from a creative family? Like, you did all different kinds of artistic things, creative things at A levels, and like, were there any influences from your time in the north that got you there?
I think I've always been influenced by the people around me and where I live and my interests and people's stories and things like that. I grew up, like I said before, going to gigs, going to football, all of that kind of northern culture, I think has been ingrained into me as from a young age.
Going to the footy and going to gigs is like probably two of the most northern things that you can possibly do.
Exactly. And yeah, I think that has always influenced me. It kind of opened my eyes to different things, I guess. But then also, like, from being a kid, I remember always going to art galleries and things like that. Like, it was a weekend activity. Like, we'd just go to the Ferrens and probably go to the football in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think growing up surrounded by that really influenced where I am today. But certainly like people's stories and yeah, just the north in general. I can never imagine myself living anywhere other than the north, to be honest. Yeah, so I would say the north influences me, which is maybe
Yeah.
cliche.
I don't think it's cliche. But you never just considered, for example, like moving to London or anything like that was just never something that you wanted to do, really.
So when I moved back from Manchester, I've got a couple of friends who live in London, and people in general were just like, when are you going to move to London then? Like, surely now. And I was like, oh, actually, I'm going to move to Hull. And people are like, what? Really? But I'm making it work and it's all good. I think one of the reasons why I moved back to Hull from Manchester was I never felt like I was getting to a point of making it. and I never felt like I would. And I think if I moved to London or somewhere bigger, for example, like I would just be like, what's the phrase? Like small fish in a big pond. Whereas in Hull, like, there's a really good creative network here, and people do genuinely want to help you, and like people genuinely root for you and want your projects to work. They want to hire you. They want to collaborate with you in some way. And I think that's what's really nice about it. I can't imagine myself living anywhere other than the north now.
Yeah, I think that's the thing about being northern. And if you're not in the north and you find people who are also northern, that you all end up sticking together anyway, because you all just get it and you all just like support each other. And that's such a nice thing about being northern, is that everyone just gets it. Like with us starting up north, I've been like so like shocked at like the response to it and how like supportive everyone's being and how many people like want to get involved and stuff. And it's just like, well, yeah, it's just because everyone gets it. Like it don't matter if it's Hull or Leeds or Chef or like anywhere. Everyone just totally understands and wants to support you and like wants you to do well. So I totally get what you mean. Like probably for you, moving to Hull will be a really fruitful and like really great decision, like compared to moving to London. Don't get me wrong, I did live in London at one point, so I can't be one of those people that's like, I loved it when I lived in London, I had a great time, but there's just something about the north. And like, I'm even a bit thinking about Yorkshire. I'm like, I couldn't even live anywhere that wasn't in Yorkshire now. I think there's something about Yorkshire to me.
I saw a video earlier on TikTok, and they were doing a street interview with people in Manchester, and they said, do you consider yourself Northern or English? And literally everyone replied to it like, I'm Northern. Like, yeah, I'm proud to be Northern, not proud to be British or English, which I think kind of sums up what we've just been saying.
I agree, because there is just such a distinct difference of life and opportunity. Even maybe people in London don't maybe realise, if you've never lived in the north or you're not from the north, you don't really understand what it's like. But it's like you were just saying, like when you were younger, you would go to, like on weekends, you'd go to like Farron's Art Gallery, which is at that time probably one of the only art galleries in Hull.
Yeah.
At that time, like maybe there was the museums. We had a couple of museums, so we had like the William Wilberforce Museum and like a lot of like history museums and stuff, just like any other city. But when you compare that to like London, for example, people can just get a tube to like about 6 different art galleries, and then they can also go to the theatre. The difference in what you can do and what you have access to is so different.
Yeah.
I would quite like to know if there are any misconceptions about what you do.
I think day to day, nobody really understands what I do because I'm not photographing all the time. I probably spend 20% of my time on a shoot, and the rest of the time is traveling to and from the shoot, all the admin, all the editing, behind the scenes. You know, people don't see what you do. You're constantly kind of getting rejected. People aren't replying to your emails. You're getting ghosted once you've sent your rates over. Yeah, you are a lot of different job roles in one. I would say like social media manager, you know, like web developer, all of these things. And I think over time I've just kind of learned to do all of these things. But I am in a position where I do kind of think I maybe need help with that in some way. The admin is all a bit of it takes a lot of time, and you don't think it does, but like actually it's more than just replying to emails. You are kind of constantly trying to set up shoots in the future and pitch for work and enter competitions and apply for grants and apply for funding. It all takes quite a lot of time. So I think that is a bit of a misconception on what photographers actually do, because unfortunately it's not just shooting. I wish it could be, because that's the fun part.
I just saw your post on your Instagram, like, is it worth it, like getting somebody to help you with your admin? Did anyone reply and say yeah or no? Like what were people saying?
There was mixed responses, I would say. A few people said it's a no-brainer, like get someone to help you, but you have to really trust that person. And I think that's what's stalling me, because I've been put in contact with a couple of people who, you know, they are like a virtual assistant or they are an admin person for arts professionals, but I don't know them. And I think it would need to be somebody who I knew, who understood my work and understood the different areas of my work and who I really trusted. But then at the same time, I was worried that it would take like the personality and the personal aspect away. So I'm not quite sure if it's something that I actually want to do. I think that will be eventually, maybe in the next year or two, like something that I think about, because I want to be able to book more shoots. I want to be able to be working on bigger and better shoots, I guess. And that's what I'm going to have to do because, yeah, I'm on a bit of an admin week this week and I'm like really thinking about it, like, what am I going to do?
Yeah. I'm like the admin person of this household.
Really?
I like an Excel sheet and like, yeah, budget sheets and all that. But I mean, only to a point there.
Yeah,
Only to
there's
a
a
point. Like if
level.
I was doing it all week, like that's a bit far. You just said about getting like bigger and better jobs. What's a dream job situation for you? Like a dream shoot or sorry to put you on the spot.
I really, really want to work at Glastonbury. That is something that I want to do
Ooh,
at some
that's a
point.
good bucket list one for
For
sure.
sure, yeah. It's just notoriously hard to get in as a photographer. So I guess there's a couple of different routes. Like you could go in with a band or artist, you could go in with one of the like areas of Glastonbury. Like I know a couple of people who work for Shangri-La, and they're photographers. I did have a lead this year, but unfortunately they weren't going to pay. So I said no, which,
Sorry.
yeah.
People still do that.
People still do that, unfortunately, yeah. And working festivals is extremely hard graft. Like,
Yeah.
it's long days. You're walking like 30,000 steps and you've got heavy equipment that you're lugging around all day. And then you've probably got to edit on the go. And also, Glastonbury is like 6 hours away. So it was like, oh, but you get your ticket. Like, I'm sorry, that's not enough.
It's like you can't.
Yeah. Could you hear him meowing? You might have to come
Yeah.
and be a guest.
It's fine, let him in.
Oh, he's knocked over the clothes area. It's like, what is that noise? He's fine. He might come in at some point. I'll close
That's
the door like
fine,
that so it
don't worry.
doesn't look different on the webcam. Did we get all of that?
Yeah, no, that's a good one. The Glastonbury's a real good one. That's like a real like a
That's like
bucket list
bucket list for
situation.
me, yeah, I think.
I feel like all the work you do with like festivals and arts and stuff like that's another angle you could go into with Glastonbury because obviously it isn't just about the music. I've never actually been, by the way, so I've never been. I would love to go one year, but obviously
Yeah.
there's so much more than just the music there. So you kind of have a bit of an edge, I would say, as a photographer
Oh,
because you could do it all.
he's coming to
Oh, that's
do you
fine.
want to come
Bring
on
him
the
in.
podcast?
He's the first pet,
Really?
the first pet that's made it to the podcast.
Hello. I think so. Like there is a lot going on at Glastonbury. It's not just the music, it is all of the other arts and there's, everywhere you turn there's something going on. So you could see like a
Yeah.
circus performer or you go to the arts and craft bit. There's so many different things. It is actually hard to describe, but it's like the best place. Definitely try and go if you can. It's just so bloody hard to get a ticket.
And every year I'm like, right, this is the year we're going to really try and do it. And then we end up forgetting. But it's good to go with like a big group in it. So like one year when like a big group of us all want to go,
Yeah.
that's probably going to be my in.
It's really good. I've been twice, but I've tried like every year for like 10 years to get tickets. And I've managed to go twice, but it's really hard.
And I bet it's just even harder to try and work there,
Yeah,
get a job
definitely.
there.
From what I've heard, even like some bands and stuff can't get their photographers in, even if they're on like the pyramid stage, they can't get the photographers in. And apparently, there's a lot of like, once you're in as a photographer, there must be some sort of like database or something. And people will be contacting you whilst you're there, like, oh, can you just shoot my set or blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So yeah, I think once you're in, but it's difficult to get to that point. So yeah,
Yeah.
that is my bucket list thing, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say that's a good one. Do you know what, Abby? I think we've covered everything other than the Northern shout out, and you've actually
Oh
got a
yeah.
really nice one.
Do you think that's more than enough?
I think Lincoln is the North.
So I was like Googling like, is Lincoln in the I think it's borderline Midlands, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's Lincolnshire, obvious. Because
Yeah.
Lincoln's near, it's like over the bridge and then a bit some, isn't it? Like it's not.
It's literally an hour away, yeah. I was there the
Yeah,
other day.
it's still northern, I would say. Um,
The cat is coming back. Just please don't stand on
what's your cat called?
Aussie.
I can't believe Ozzy's made it on the podcast before. Tofu, our dog has.
Oh my God.
He's not even been on it yet. He's been really good actually. Normally he's like real noisy when we're on like work calls and stuff, but for some reason when I'm recording on the podcast, he's like absolutely silent.
Yeah, I could hear him like meowing. Now I've just let him in the room and he's roaming around. He's still a
That's
kitten,
like
so he's like, oh, just don't make a
mischievous still.
noise.
It's okay.
So my Northern shout out is to Not Quite North. So they're a film processing lab and camera shop in Lincoln. They only opened in January of this year. And it's like a film photographer's dream to go into that shop. They've got lots of cameras for sale and they're also just really lovely. So yeah, shout out, go and visit them if you're in Lincoln.
Oh, that sounds so good. I'll have to go there because I always just go to the same place. Like there's a one in Leeds I always go to, but it would be nice to try somewhere new, I think.
Yeah, I usually go to the Take It Easy in Leeds, but
Yeah.
yeah, I was in Lincoln and they were on my radar to go and visit. And I had the Barbie camera and I took it to them because I had a roll of film in it. So I was like, oh, like they'll understand,
Yeah.
the situation.
We didn't even talk about that, the camera that you got with the film already in it.
I'm still looking for the people. No one's reached out, sadly. But it's had quite a lot of views. I think across Instagram and TikTok, it's like 10,000 views, which is a lot. And on TikTok, there's been about 10 people saying like, oh my God, I used to have this camera, blah, blah, blah. So it's reaching the right people. It's just not found the people yet in the pictures.
Side note for podcast listeners, Abbie bought a camera off eBay from a charity and it was a Barbie film camera and inside it was some film and she got it developed and she's trying to find the people that are on the pictures.
Yeah, side note, because that was
Side
the
note, yeah.
first camera I ever had. But my original had been sent to a charity shop or something years ago. And then I
Yeah.
wanted to get it back and I found one on eBay. Yeah, mad.
You know, when I used to go on school trips and stuff, I like had a film camera and there used to be a film processing lab in Anlaby
Oh my God.
in Hull near literally on Anlaby Common.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
me
they
and my mum
did. Yeah.
it was a drive-through one. It was a drive-through. You could literally like park up at the side. There was a window that they would pass you your pictures to.
Oh my
This was,
God.
I'm talking like we must have been like 10 or something. So it was like
That's crazy.
after a school trip, my mum would take me and it was a film. I had a little film camera.
I was going to say
I
I
think
remember,
the
but
batteries melted that.
I don't remember the drive-through situation. How cool is that?
I've got a very vivid memory of my mum pulling up to like a window where they give you the packet with the
Like
with the
McDonald's, but
printed. Yeah. Maybe someone will listen to this and correct me, but I'm pretty in my head that is the memory that Anlaby Common in Hull had a drive-through film processing lab.
oh my God. Somebody needs to like make that happen again.
Thank you so much, Abbie, for coming on. Everyone who's listening, go and follow Abbie Jennings on Instagram. I'll put the handle in the description of this episode and to see music, arts, museums, everything, culture, arts and culture, photography. And also if you don't follow UPNORF already, follow UPNORF. So thanks, Abbie.
Thank you very much for having me.
Hi, it's me again. Thank you so much for listening to that episode with Abbie Jennings. I told you she loves all things creative and how interesting is her whole story really of how she's made it to what she's doing now. I think it's just a real like testament to like that northern grit and the northern way of just trying like everything you possibly can to be able to work in the field that you really want to. So thank you so much, Abbie, for joining me for that conversation. Make sure you follow Abbie on Instagram. I'll put her handle below in the description. And of course, we're sharing all of this over on UPNORF, as well as all the other conversations that we're having with people. So not just on the Have You Made It podcast, but on our other features and interviews over on our Instagram and our website, upnorf.co.uk. So thank you so much for listening and we'll catch you next time.